Something about true crime just makes us obsessed. What would it be like to kill your partner after they didn't do the dishes after dinner? Or what would you do at a 911 call? You have to put so much trust in those 911 operators, and once police are on the way, every second becomes an hour when you're in the vicinity of someone who wants to cause you harm. Today, we'll be covering the best true crime YouTubers of 2021. A collaboration with TV shows. Real stories sit at around 5 million subscribers, and their motif is essentially to share the rights of documentaries as seen on TV. It's great that the TV world is moving more online and becoming more dependent on groups that specialize in more on-demand services such as YouTube. They cover exactly what the main broadcasting channels do. A good 45 minutes with few to no adverts gives you uninterrupted tension, which the shows begin to build. In 2021, they're covering Britain's Deadliest Children. The collaboration is gritty and well executed when discussing executions. It sends tremors down your spine because it just seems so normal. The people they bring in are quintessential of a school or environment near you. They do definitely glamorize the killers by using powerful and expressive words. However, the reconstructions make it powerful for us. The ability to portray the event occurring right in front of you really puts you there. They're currently covering a student who killed their own teacher, and the way the other children discuss his behavior is startling, in collaboration with whom we think are behavioral experts, although we do believe there are some politics in the background, e.g., when a stabbing occurs at a school, the reputation comes into question. To have students tout their school's reputation really balances it on TV, so perhaps there is more to the story than we're shown, but it definitely is entertaining. In addition, Real Stories does have a podcast available for those who want to imagine the event with no video clues. Specifically Caller. True 911 Calls deals with the calls in a specific way. Most may just get the audio tracks and play them. However, True 911 Calls expands on this by having the transcript on the screen coinciding with what's being said, which is a great help because most of the time the 911 is absolute chaos. The transcript being available on screen makes you feel safe and secure, but it brings into question what technology 911 staff have on hand. When someone's life is in danger, we'd expect the phone call to be as smooth as possible, but that's not the case. In many cases, the discussion between the operator and the caller is incoherent in regard to the caller, whereas the operator is usually clear. You're put in with the operator in most instances trying to wrestle the chaos from the caller and question many of their events. True 911 Calls helps us understand the story by providing images during the video of the people who are calling when the police arrest or subject them to a trial. Unlike other 911 YouTubers, 911 Calls doesn't interrupt with exposition every minute. They instead give a brief overview of what's occurring and link it nicely to the tragic event so that you can fully grasp what is occurring in a brief amount of time. The rest is filled with pure emotional compassion, and if the 911 operator seems incompetent, rage and fear can fill your soul throughout the entire video. Vibes for the dark. Some true crime documentaries really flex the facts and flourish everything on screen, which essentially shout out emotional words that are meant to invoke fear and really portray a chaotic event occurring, which can get in the way of understanding what exactly is happening, and it can take 10 minutes to get a single point across. However, YouTuber Your Maker mixes true crime, 911, and everything spooky, including creature stories and generally chilling things that provides that psychological high that we're all yearning for. Your Maker does his research and covers the plots of true crime stories from point to point and adds the perfect ambient music to the entire plot that suits the theme. The amount of research done towards a story is truly appreciated here, and the organization of the videos really lets us focus purely on the story with no mild annoyances. The voice actor is smooth and eloquent to listen to and puts emphasis on the right words. There's no lack of understanding, and the flow keeps intact. Interestingly, the videos on screen almost seem like a stock video, but they capture what's happening so perfectly in regard to events that aren't recorded. For instance, when someone is hiding in a bathroom during an attack, they show someone in a clear video with her arms clasped around her sides and showing clear distress. We are not sure if they record all of these videos to suit the video, but if they do, it is a very impressive effort by Your Maker. Now we're back to safety for a while to rest our curious minds in the interlude. Have you got some favorite YouTubers that you watch on the daily? I fall asleep to horrific stories being told by a campfire video. Weird, but I bet many of you do the same. Pleasant infographics. The infographic show generally presents interesting information from around the world and has a very distinct art style. The true crime portion of their channel covers big-name killers whom everyone should know. It is more specific to American killers but covers worldwide killers too. The animations really suit the voice actor and they cover points that get you ready to learn more. Particular events stick in your head. For instance, Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy were the first serial killers that I watched on their show, and the depictions are so interesting and in-depth that I pursued more knowledge on Netflix and other streaming sites. I found that infographics went more in-depth than movie portrayals go, which makes sense. Filmographers are often asked what the most interesting aspect of the protagonist is, and then why isn't that being presented on on the screen. For instance, Jeffrey Dahmer's depiction barely mentions that first plunge into madness when Dahmer fancied a neighborhood jogger and he waited in a bush with a bat with an intent to strike. Fortunately, the jogger doesn't show, which might not be the most interesting thing in its bare form, but it can definitely be cinematically interesting if the lead-up is handled correctly. Staying with Dahmer, most movies show the part where Dahmer tried to create a zombie and they brief it. Infographics goes into more detail and discuss how it was water at first, then acid, and the horrific events that followed really grasped me more than any movie depiction I've seen. We heavily recommend the infographic show to establish the facts and then recommend chasing the story elsewhere now that you're armed with so much more knowledge. Very Strange Stories. Stranger Stories is a YouTuber that takes a more heart-pounding approach. The music is fast-paced or suspense-building, and a combination with the fast-paced voice of the voice actor adds to the overall feel, which is distinct to many other YouTubers covering the same topic. Stranger Stories focuses more on the interview stage of the true crime event. Initially, a concise introduction is given with apt music and videos or images that really get into the story, be it looking into a killer's eyes, or viewing erratic behavior, or looking at an absolutely normal cafe that brings you into a false sense of security. The interviews are a brilliant way to look at two things. The first being how killers act and discuss why they did what they did. It resonates more when it comes directly from the killer's voice. In addition, Stranger Stories helps out the viewer by freeze framing on critical points and describing what's important, e.g., the location of the chair in the room, and what else was mentioned in the official police report that may not be immediately obvious, for example, the heavy breathing. The second point shows us what interviews are like in the real world. It's so bizarre to see police officers be so polite to such disgusting individuals, asking about how their work is, if they're right or left-handed. Really shows how they lull the suspect into a false sense of security while the room placement can make them feel at ease, but the police are definitely on the attack. Stranger Stories highlights these aspects, for instance, when a rapport is built with a single police officer who are normally extremely charismatic and understanding towards the killers. Then an additional police officer comes in, doesn't look at the killer, just sits there in silence and observes as they sit like an observer for the interviewer, putting the killer on edge and more likely to express everything truthfully and even sign documents. It really delves into the good cop, bad cop routine in a different way that is presented on TV, which may depict the cop hitting or getting violent with a criminal. This kind of behavior is looked down upon during court, and so the police have to get creative while being polite. They interestingly may get the killer to sign something, but not exclusively read them their rights or offer a lawyer. Stranger Stories definitely gives us an inside look into the aftermath. That wraps up our favorite true crime YouTubers of 2021. It's a question that has plagued police and psychologists alike. What events lead up to humans committing horrific events? And furthermore, why is it so interesting to watch? Leave your comments down below.